What's up guys, Chris here, and in this video we go back to our roots with a Nerd Night Classic account guide. Over the last couple of weeks I had players on Reddit and Discord sending me screenshots of their accounts, and there were a couple of things that I noticed right away from multiple accounts. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, the biggest mistakes that a lot of players are making on their accounts and why they're either falling behind in PvP or not able to clear extreme difficulty PvE content. This video will be much like our 2 Zero to Hero guides, helping you look at broad strategies that will make a difference in the long run for your account. A lot of you are very savvy players. You're here on YouTube, you're trying to gather more information on the game. So while some of the things in this video might be obvious to you, hopefully there's at least one thing that you can take away by the end. I've timestamped each section below, so feel free to jump around to certain topics if you need to. One thing that is not a mistake is hitting that thumbs up below and subscribing for more War of the Visions content. The first thing I want to talk about is vision cards, and so many players in War of the Visions focus solely on just the units that they want, forgetting that vision cards are arguably more important to the strength of your account than the units. So when you're looking for ways to make your account stronger, you should plan out the vision cards that you need or already have, then pair the best units to those cards. This is perhaps the best piece of advice that anybody could give you. Right alongside, if it's too good to be true, you're probably being catfished. That 22-year-old model named Jenna that just wants to talk to a good guy is definitely a 49-year-old Gerald with a mullet and no pants. Vision cards have become more and more powerful in year 2 in War of the Visions, and not only that, they have become cheaper and cheaper to grab and max out with things like guaranteed step-up banners, vision stars, vision medals, hard quests, challenge boards, and select tickets. A maxed out vision card costs about 12 to 15,000 Visor, depending on how many spare vision stars you have. This means that you can get 3 or 4 maxed out vision cards for the cost of a single 120 unit. A lot of us like to look at units as meta defining, or good or bad or broken. We love our tier lists and discussing which units are the best units, and I'm guilty of this too, but the reality is that the units themselves are balanced fairly well, and that the vision cards are more often than not the deal breaker on a lot of teams. To illustrate this point, for an entire week, I set up my guild battle team to Yerma, Oldoa, and Engelbert, you know, some of those units we all say suck, and I was beating up on 120 Clouds, Yunas, Black Witch Helenas, Tituses, Laras, Elenas, and Zazans, you know, all those units we say are good. And I did this simply to illustrate that if you have the right vision cards, you can make almost any unit pretty viable, a strategy that Oreo has based their entire brand around for the last couple of years. Oh hey, we have these 2 pieces of chocolate cardboard everyone seems to love, so we can probably make any flavor viable. Unfortunately, there's always a masherie. That's right, I just liken masherie to being the Swedish fish Oreo of War of the Visions. I'm waiting, Mysidia. The last thing I'll say is that vision cards are, for the most part, very future-proof, and by that I mean that if you play War of the Visions long enough, you will start to put together teams of every element and attack type, and having vision cards to support those teams will continue to make content easier and easier for you to beat. Not only this, but when new characters are announced or released, you have a much better chance of having useful vision cards for those characters, giving you a lot more flexibility for your future planning or grabbing units that you like. Over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, I personally have gone from just 5 level 99 vision cards to now more than 20. The second part I want to talk about is the all or nothing strategy, and I was shocked to see how many accounts have half finished units or vision cards on their accounts, or pieces of gear stuck at +3 for some of their most vital characters. Now, I get it, there's a couple of different types of players that play collection games like War of the Visions. Sometimes you just have collectors who want to collect all the units in the game for nostalgia's sake, and sure, I get this. The problem with collector accounts is that you generally end up with limited time or collaboration units stuck at like level 60 or level 79, and at that point, they're pretty much useless to your account. In fact, one player I talked to, you know who you are, wasn't even aware that he had Dwayne on his account because he was stuck at level 60. So in turn, he never used him and completely forgot that he existed. So at this point, that awesome unit you were so excited to pull is no more valuable than a Doug Drabeck rookie card. In fact, I would argue that old Dougie here has more value because at least he won a Cy Young Award in 1990 and had over 1,500 strikeouts and 150 wins. That's right, you didn't expect to learn about Doug Drabeck in a War of the Visions video, now did ya? And I know that War of the Visions has made this approach slightly more viable by adding the ability to grab limited unit shards from the guild barracks, but the reality is that this process is A, painstakingly slow, B, can still only support 5 units at a time, and C, it's just not enough to make it a reasonable excuse to pull for units that you can't max out. In addition, vision cards have extra abilities that they unlock at level 99, so leaving vision cards unfinished, especially limited vision cards, is catastrophic. Just ask all those people sitting on a level 85 Scion of House Beowulf card how they feel about that right now. Level 99 vision cards are pretty much required at every level of the game in both PvP and PvE. If you've been following the channel for a long time, you've heard the phrase "build upwards, not outwards" come from my mouth much more than anything, except maybe slamming the Black Eyed Peas or White Castle, because some things deserve to be recognized for just how awful they are. But despite this, I'm shocked at how many accounts I've seen that have unfinished business on so many units and vision cards. The smartest approach is to simply avoid or skip new units or cards if you don't have enough Visuor to max them out. There is of course a little bit more leeway here for non-limited units and cards, since there's a couple more methods to farming them, but in that case you're probably much better off just skipping the unit entirely and saving for something that you can max out, since you can always pull non-limited units from the general pool or selection tickets later. The bottom line in War of the Visions, much like all of these collection games, is that if you want to have your Cactuar and kill it too, you're going to have to pay for it, and if you're not willing to do that, then you just need to plan out which units and cards you're going for well in advance in order to have enough Visuor to max them out. Shameless self-promotion here, but every month on this channel we do a planning guide for the next 3 months in the game to help you plan out what units and cards will be best for your account, where you can skip, and things you should look to save for. In the global version of the game, we have the advantage of about 3 months of foresight in upcoming units and vision cards, so with a few exceptions, there's really no excuse for poor planning. So long story short, don't pull for new things unless you can max them out, especially when it comes to limited time collaboration units and cards. One autographed Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card is way more valuable than any number of Doug Drabeck cards. The last point I'll hammer home here is perhaps one of the more underrated aspects to team building, and that's espers. And there's a lot more to talk about here than just Esper Resonance, but that is the first thing that we're going to talk about. So many players just don't take the time to farm up Esper Resonance on their new units, then they wonder why their units aren't performing as well as they should be, and I get it, farming Esper Resonance is like watching The Masked Singer. None of us want to do it, it's annoying and destroys our brain cells, but we have to do it to stay culturally relevant. Damn you and your lovable talent, Ken Jeong. Farming up Esper Resonance is a simple way to improve the performance of your units. Now, Gumi has made this a little bit easier with the new Affinity and Resonance key quest, but even though this was being sold as a solution, it's kind of more indicative of the problem that this mechanic is absolutely terrible. It's almost like Gumi gave us raisins for Halloween and tried to call it candy. The second part of this is that a lot of players, most in fact, don't take any time to get resonance with multiple espers on their top units. For one, if you get a new unit that needs an Esper that you're already using on another unit, you're gonna kind of be SOL, and now you have to farm up that resonance all over again with your older units. And secondly, this will pigeonhole the potential builds for your units as well. For example, what if I want to build 2B as a bruiser and not an evasion unit? What if I want to build King Mont for more damage instead of tanking, or Victora for slash damage instead of pierce damage, and so on? There's multiple viable builds and team compositions for almost every unit in War of the Visions, and Esper Resonance and builds can play a huge part in that. To finish off this video, I'll rapid fire a few more minor mistakes that I see on a lot of accounts. Number 1, not fully leveling up the EX nodes on your 120 units. There are upgradable nodes for the damage limit at level 107 and a stat increase and final ability at level 120. Even though myself and others like Diggs and OranJ have mentioned this over and over again, many players still don't realize that you can upgrade these nodes. Number 2, farming non-limited or cost 80 unit in the guild barracks. Guys, the guild barracks is a nice little bonus to collecting shards for units, so don't waste it. Limited units are obvious because you can't get the shards in any other place, but if you have extra slots, you should be using them on cost 100 units. Even though the visual cost of these units has returned to normal and you can farm them at 2 hard quests per day, these units are typically still better than a lot of the units in the general pool, so it's a good idea to get to working on them, and I'm talking about units like Black Witch Helena, King Mont, Ruin Stern, Gilgamesh, Jaden, etc. Number 3, not grabbing your monthly Blossoms of Paradise from the Elemental Chambers and the Red-Yellow Training Chambers. In the era of EX, Blossoms are one of the most coveted resources in the game, and you get 2 free Blossoms each month as random drops in the far plane. Don't forget to do this before the end of the month. That's it for this video, guys. Hopefully this video helped you with your accounts. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below about the biggest mistakes you think players make in War of the Visions, or things that maybe were mistakes on your account and you didn't realize that you were doing it for a really long time. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay warm. We will catch you next time.